evening and welcome to Tuesday Folk People. My name is Maddie Leadham and this evening we're going to be joined by a band completely unique on the folk scene. Blending folk music with a wide variety of different genres and styles, this band has one main purpose: to make you dance. The versatility of this band is immense, performing at Cambridge Folk Festival one moment and then Boomtown Festival the next, but they do keep one thing always the same. They're exciting and they're memorable. In fact, they were described by Mark Radcliffe as the highlight of Glastonbury. And their name? Three Daft Monkeys. Over the next hour, we will explore this incredible band, including exclusive performances of some of their dance-inducing music. So let's welcome Tim and Athene from Three Daft Monkeys to our online studio. Hello, Three Daft Monkeys. We have Tim and Athene.
Hi.
How are you both doing?
Good, really good, thank you.
Yeah, we're all right, actually. Yeah.
And in the normal lineup, there's usually two others, aren't there, as well?
There is. It's usually Richie Mulrine on percussion and Jamie Graham on bass, and they both do vocals as well. But they live quite away from us, and our kitchen's not that big to fit them in.
Yeah,
they're not here.
It'll be fine with just the two of you. I'm very looking forward to this interview. And I think that we should wake our audience up and we should have the first song, because this song will definitely wake them up. It is. We've got, hang on, I've lost it. We've got Drink With God first.
Cool.
Before we hear it, can you tell us about this song?
Yeah, it's a bit of a musings song, really. We wrote it for, which album was this one? This on the latest one? Yeah, it was. So it's the latest album, which was now nearly 3 years old, which we are writing another one. But yeah, it's some musings about if you ended up in the pub with God and had a chat and had a bit of a lock-in, and it sort of came about because I came home late one night and said that I'd been drinking late because I had met God. And then I thought, well, if I write a song about it, then it's got to be true, hasn't it?
Yeah, okay.
It's social comment, basically, about what if you are religious. I'm not particularly religious in that way, but if you are religious, what you thought, your musings on how God would react to the way things are going at the moment, and at the moment, I say.
Or anybody really.
Yeah.
It reflects just looking in on the human race, isn't it?
Yeah.
As we are and what our perspective is at the moment.
Yeah.
Even if it's an alien looking in, what they would make of it all.
A pub that I used to frequent, decided to leave, my money was spent. One gnarly hand pushed me back in my chair. They grabbed my soul with a man standing there. Amen. Eyes bore down with the blood is of red. They said I saw turn my legs into lead. Tried to escape, but he would not let go. Hid in his breath, think I wanted to throw in his hand. It is a killer, money's a thief. Religion's compromise, whatever your belief. The law is a liar, justice is a joke. Unbind the system that isn't broke. His grip tightened around my wrist. I knew who he was, and I knew he was pissed. We drank till we fell, then we drank some more. Him on the piano, and me on the floor, and we sang, "It is a killer, money's a thief. Religion's compromise, whatever your belief. The law is a liar, justice is a joke. Unbind the system that is."
What a brilliant song, and it definitely will have woken people up with those explosive instrumental pieces throughout. Honestly, in the opening when I first heard it, it was like, whoa, it was just amazing.
Yeah, well, that's just with the two of us. When we've got I was playing the foot drum there because we used to do quite a lot of stuff, just the two of us, where I play foot drum and Feeny does. So we've honed in quite a nice little sound, but with the full band, it's such a bigger sound as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I love that song. I do.
I normally start it with a huge low octave pedal on my violin as well, so that it kind of fills an auditorium with the violin's doing some big chords, but it has this extra bass octave on it, which really turns people's heads and makes it feel quite mad, doesn't it?
yeah, it does.
Yeah, because I was going to say, you seem to be the masters of creating atmosphere through all your songs that we're going to hear in this session. There's just so much atmosphere in all of them, and I think that there's just two of you right now, so I can't even imagine if you're there live with four of you. It must be absolutely insane. So we might have loads of people like rushing to your concerts after this.
I hope so.
I hope so. That's our drive. That's what we love to do. We love to create songs that have some kind of atmosphere within them. That's always been, whenever we're writing, we play music back and we build it until it has some kind of feeling, like a theatre, really. You know, no one wants to...
Well, it wants to be a show, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, should we explore now sort of the beginnings of Three Daft Monkeys? How did it form? How did it come about?
I was in a band with Richie, the percussionist, and two of my brothers, and Athene joined the band. We were a band called Moondragon. We were sort of psychedelic punk band that did a lot of the free parties and the squat scenes around Europe. And Athene was in another band at the time called Head Mix Collective.
I was in a band from sort of London, Brighton, and we did kind of dub, diddly folk music with a sort of fat dub bass, and it was very dancey.
And we met in a squat in Arnhem, in Holland, and sort of got on. And then we invited Athene to come play some violin because we had an alter ego, Moondragon, which was a band called Lordric, which is the acoustic version. Lordric is actually Cornish for Moondragon. Yeah, and so we had a more acoustic based thing. So if we went to a venue and we thought, oh, hang on a minute, Moondragon's not going to work here, we'll do a stripped down sort of Richie on djembe, me on a 12-string guitar, my brother on acoustic, and Athene on violin. And Athene did the Moondragon as well, didn't you? You played for Moondragon as well. But we split up in Ireland, and we had a show in Spain called Folk Segovia, just outside Madrid. And we turned up as a three-piece. And I'd already written a song called Three Daft Monkeys, and they said, "Well, what's the name of this band? You know, you're not the band that we build." And I just said, "Oh, we're just Three Daft Monkeys," and it stuck from there actually. So it's the name stuck from an instant from a song that I'd written. I don't know if I'd have picked Three Daft Monkeys.
I don't think it's quite hard to try and be taken seriously in the music world when you're called Three Daft Monkeys.
Yeah.
We were too far in by the time we realised that people had got to know us, and so we've kind of stuck with it.
We sort of thought about changing the name quite a few times, or just taking it down to 3DM, or sort of, because having the word daft in there just put a few people off. In Germany, they thought we were a Monkeys tribute act, didn't they?
Oh, did they? See, you're literally not the first. I've had so many people here when I ask them about their band names say, "Yeah, we got it. We really regret it, but we're stuck with it now." I feel like it's just
it's a funny old thing. Names. Some people love it. Some people think it really suits us because we are quite flippant on stage as well. We do like to chat with the audience, and we do try and create a rapport with the audience and have a little bit of humour, because we like to do really uplifting shows. So we like to take people and give them a good night and let them, and we want people to leave smiling and happy and feeling like they've been on some sort of adventure. So we do a lot of chit chat, and quite a lot of it is we've been told it's humorous. I don't know, is it? I don't know. It's not meant to be.
No, but it generally is.
It generally is.
It's always slightly flippant because that's our nature, really. So
see, I really like the name because I think it's quite eye-catching. You immediately are like curious about who these Daft Monkeys are. And then you hear you and it's like, wow. Yeah, it's amazing.
And everyone goes, "Oh, there's 4 of you," but sometimes there's 2 of us and sometimes there's 7 of us. It depends on the show. Sometimes we get a string section in or a brass section in, depending if we want to do a bigger show. So Well,
another thing I wanted to talk about was you've achieved a lot as a band. You've performed at Glastonbury, you've done European tours, you've been on, was it the BBC Radio 2 folk show, you did a session, things.
Yeah.
But you do everything independently. It's run all by you, isn't it? Is that quite a lot of work to do all that?
Yes, it is. We were picked up by a company, management agency company, and we were with them for a few years, which really helped because, you know, having somebody saying this band is good really helps. You know, someone in the business saying, "Oh, look, I'm going to put my stuff behind these guys," really helped. But it didn't really work out because we're not that money driven. We're sort of, we do stuff more for the adventure. And as this guy said to me, I said, "Oh yeah, we'll go to Italy. We'll take a few weeks to get there and take, you know, a week to get back." And he said, "Well, where's my percentage of that holiday?" Like, oh, okay, I get your point. You know, he wanted to do a gig every night, and we said, "No, we'll take in the adventure because, you know, it's a ticket to adventure, isn't it for us?" So,
but we've been doing it for 21 years, and it's a lifestyle. So you get up in the morning and you can have a free day, but you also have days when you have to spend all day either writing emails, writing songs, mending the van, you know, doing the marketing, devising photographs. There's so many aspects to being in a band, and obviously there weren't college courses back when we started in how to do these things. So we've developed it all ourselves, and it's a learning curve, and it's hard when you're independent now because there's so many agencies out there. So quite a lot of people are now booking all their gigs through an agency because it's more simple. And then, but I
suppose with an agency, they can say, "I want so many bands at my festival," and the agencies can say, "Well, here's 5 bands I can give you," you know, and they're just dealing with this one character rather than with 5 bands. So for festivals, agents, it sort of works out. But we've never sort of,
we're feistily independent. We don't like people telling us what to do. We never have, and also with the touring schedule, we take our son with us as well now, who has been on tour with us since he was born. And it would be very hard not to do it ourselves because we have certain ways we want to work with our child in tow, places we want to go, not to go, journeys how long we want to take on journeys, and how we want to play and write our music as well, and where we want to play and for how much is very much what we want to decide. And we find it quite exciting too. Every email is exciting still after all this time, isn't it? Would you want to play Chepstow Castle? Yes, definitely. It's a castle. Woo! Excellent.
Well, it's funny because this year we haven't, because of the last 2 years, and it's all been a bit chaotic, and Brexit has sort of put a bit of a break on European stuff. And I got quite poorly with COVID at the end of this year. We've sort of taken a little step back and gone, oh God, and we got a new album to write and stuff. And I haven't really sort of searched for gigs like we used to. But beautifully, and because we've been doing this so long, we're getting emails coming to us saying, "Do you want this gig? Do you want this gig?" And I'm thinking now, oh, we're actually getting quite full.
Yeah, and it's lovely.
It's lovely that I haven't actually searched for anything this year, and it's all come to me. So I think it's a nice thing to be able to do, is do your own thing.
Yeah, 100%. I do all the imagery as well. I work on the photos and the marketing side of things. I'm always trying to come up with new, strange, and interesting designs because I'm not really a fan of the band shots and your average sort of graphics. I like things to look a bit strange and unusual. So we've this, and Tim sorts the van out, and there's so many.
I do more than sort the van out.
Sorry, I mean, that's another thing in our life to do with the band. Is, we've converted an Iveco minibus ourselves to be with the band, and there's just so many facets to it. But it's a lifestyle we've chosen, and we love it.
We love it.
We'll keep on.
It's a vocation, as they say.
Yeah, it's hard work, but it gives you the autonomy to do what you want and what you need to sort of have control of your own life, which does sound very appealing. And you guys have obviously done it amazingly, because all of this research I've been doing, it just shows that you've got a huge following. I was looking like on Spotify and things, and you're being streamed all the time. And so doing this independently, you've got your names out there, and it shows that hard work pays off. You don't have to be in an agency. You do have to be prepared to put the effort in.
We had to create our own record label as well, 3DM Records, to get onto things like Spotify and stuff like that. We're the only band on our label, by the way. We're not expanding yet, are we?
Not yet. No.
Not yet. We might expand to get somebody else. Maybe when Arlo's old enough, he can join our label.
Yes, a little family label.
Yeah, but so we had to do that as well. But we actually, because we had our own record label, we got a distribution deal with Proper Music, so they're actually putting us in shops and all the rest of it, and so which is really great because that's quite a lot of hard work and to do that sort of thing. So they've been really good with us, Proper Music distribution. So big heads up to them.
Well, the next thing I wanted to explore really is the other thing that's quite unusual about you as a band, and that is your sound. It's very unique, and is that in part to the influences you have? Because I know you've got a lot. Can you just sort of go through some of the influences or the sound influences that you have for your music?
Well, it's funny because when I first met Athene, I didn't really know much about folk music. I mean, I quite liked, when I was younger, I was quite liking Silly Wizard and all that sort of stuff. And but I didn't really know about, and Athene introduced me to European folk music, all the sort of Scandinavian and Yiddish stuff. And that was really, really cool stuff. A lot of it's really trancey because I was quite into my psychedelic trance sort of music at the time. So we've sort of just grown on that aspect, haven't we? And we've done a lot of. We had a couple of years, 3 or 4 years, where we weren't actually in a band, and the two of us just travel around Europe in an old Dodge van with a little wood burner in the back and busked on the streets. And we met loads of street entertainers and musicians, and we all swapped tunes around campfires, and so that was really cool. You were quite into your rock, weren't you?
Yeah, I started off big time when I was a sort of teenager into sort of glam rock side of things. So although I trained in classical music in piano and violin, and I did my grade 8 in those, so I've got this. Sometimes I bring in little influences from the classical music as well that people don't even notice as little homages to some of my favourite sort of strange Russian composers and things. But I was really into my glam rock because I loved the show of it all when I was a teenager, and that it was very sort of showy and glossy, and so there's that element in there as well because and it's got that intensity. And then, but obviously, I was drawn to Yiddish and Jewish folk music, and I just love that side of things. So for me, there was those two sides, and then Richie is a big rock fan, and Jamie, but we're all into many different sorts of music. Punk had a big influence on us
and
all.
ska.
And ska, reggae. We love reggae. We love dancing. We love all types of music.
Yeah.
And so in our music, we don't consider where we're going to go with it. We come up with little strains, and then we see where that guides us. And I might have just listened to some great Latin American track, and so I'll immediately want to do a kind of salsa rhythm behind it, or Jamie or Tim will suddenly dub it out when I'm playing a tune, and it's
quite organic. Everyone brings their thing to the table. I don't write a song and go, you must do this and you must do that, and this is how I want it. I write a song and bring it to the table, and it can completely change when everyone gets hold of it and starts pulling it apart. And it's like a pack of wild wolves they are sometimes. I bring them this tiny little lovely song, and they tear it apart and build a monster.
Yeah, that's
what
the
happens.
plan.
Yeah. Well, do you find that having all of these sounds influenced in there, that it opens doors for you, or that can sometimes be closing off things because, for example, like in the folk world, it's not deemed folk or something like that?
Well, yeah, we do get a few issues like that with the traditional folk festivals, but then it's quite nice because we have got a violin and we can approach. I think our music can be, even though it's the same song, you can play it in so many different ways, just with a different attitude seems to work, doesn't it? I mean, we can play at 3 o'clock in the morning at Boomtown and get everyone jumping up and down and going wild, but we can play that same song to a seated audience in a church, and people listen to it for its musicality. Yeah. So I think in some ways it has made a little rod for our backs because we're not going down the traditional route, but I think if you open people's minds, traditional music's got to start somewhere, I suppose, hasn't it? So if you're writing songs that have elements of tradition in, I think that's quite a cool thing to do.
Yeah, and I think also you have so many themed types of festivals. We've been invited to steampunk festivals because of some of the clothes we wear, and we've been invited to punk do's and trad Irish nights, and we can pick and tailor our songs that we choose for the night to fit that a little bit as well, so that or Gypsy Ska night, we can easily fit into that. So it has opened a lot of doors, and like you're saying, and closed others. But we understand that, we know that.
Yeah.
We know that we're not treading, because we can't be pigeonholed. There's going to be times that people won't look to us kind of, even when we got put in HMV, they didn't know which section to put us in. And we didn't know where to look when we went in the shop because we didn't know what we were ourselves.
No.
We literally,
I think they put us in folk and country
and western, I think, or something, which was probably what we're definitely not.
It's folk and country.
So yeah, I think, but there's nothing else we can do about that because we don't want to be pigeonholed. We want to remain writing what comes from our heart, and so you just don't know what's going to come out in that way.
Yeah, remain authentic. Absolutely. Well, I think that we should have our next song. I think it's time that we listen to some of this fusion of sounds. And the next one we've got is Sarah the Devil and Jack. What is this one about?
Well, saying that, this is quite a traditional song.
This is one of the only songs we do that contains a traditional tune within it.
It's we did when Thene was pregnant and was going to have our son. We thought, we better have a little bit of time off. We took about a month off. So I thought I'm going to try a different technique in songwriting, and I thought I'm going to do traditional folk. And then we thought, well, no, we don't really want to do that. So we sort of went down the traditional folk, but writing new folk tunes. So I went to the library in Redroof, the Cornish Library, and did lots of reading of Cornish folk tales. And this just happens to be one of the Cornish folk tales that we sort of turned into a song. And I think you used a Cornish folk tune that we sort of... What one was it?
Oh, it's a traditional Cornish tune, and I can't think of the name of it right now. It might come to me
that's terrible.
During the song. I know.
That's awful.
But it is, yeah. And then we added, stabs and chops, and we built it up.
And I had the lyric and the
Tim wrote
story.
The story
so in a way, it is a mash of Cornish, a Cornish tale with a Cornish tune, but with our sort of approach to it and our sort of take on it all. Really.
Yeah.
Paul Green, married a rogue, I'll kill him tonight, devil be told, I'll poison his supper, deadly nightshade, for I love another, my mind is made in a consequence of forbidden love. Her lover was young, known as Yorkshire Jack. She knew of his deeds. He turned his back, for he was besotted. Sarah Paul Green, and their life together, a murderer's dream and a consequence of forbidden love. Yeah. Consequence of forbidden love. She was bitter, she haunted a man. He promised her devil and Jack. The devil came back.
That one, yes, definitely does feel more traditional. And the fact that it's got forbidden love and death in it feels very, that's just traditional folk all the way through, isn't it?
all the way through.
And did you?
It was great. We did a. Sorry.
No, I was just saying, did you remember the name of the tune?
No.
If not, ask. We can get people to write it in the comments if they recognise it, and then it can be sort of like.
It'll be in the. We did an album called of Stones and Bones, and it's all sort of based around Cornish tales and stuff. And so it should be in the footnotes of that, shouldn't it?
I'll message. I'll write it on the message after.
No, it's a guessing game. Whoever guesses the tune gets a point.
I have a million tunes in my head, but I don't know the names for most of them. But my head's full of tunes.
No, it's a brilliant song though. Again, and you created the atmosphere for sort of there's like this underlying darker atmosphere in that.
Yeah,
the darker meaning.
Yeah,
fantastic.
No, we do like that one.
So we were obviously just talking about your sound and how it's a bit of a mesh of all sorts of different things, and I wanted just kind of to see whether that affects your demographic at all, because I know that it's a worry within the folk industry at the moment about young people, especially young audience members, not necessarily coming along. Do you find that's not an issue for you because you kind of transcend the folk genre?
It depends what venue we play and what festival we play. Because venues have a certain, like village halls, for instance, have a certain demographic that go to village halls, and we do quite a lot of village hall sort of gigs. But when we do our venue tour, it seems to be a younger audience. Here in Falmouth, I think we did a gig recently, and we looked out into the audience, and it was all the children of the people that we used to look out into the audience of. So that was quite nice.
Yeah.
And we sort of looked at each other and went, okay,
yeah.
So we're still here, but I think all our old mates are back watching the telly, and their kids are out now.
But we've noted this. So because of the way we work, we've decided to change how, certain aspects so that we work with what people want. So we've been doing earlier shows, and that works because we noticed that a lot of people in their 30s and 40s weren't coming, and we thought, why is this? Because they all want to party. It's because they've got children at home that they don't want to bring. So we've started in the last few years doing afternoon and early evening shows, so that with a bar, so people can bring their children, the children can enjoy it, everyone can have a lovely time and still get home in time for bed, having had a beer.
Yeah.
So we try and work with it, and that's part of our ethos, isn't it? To change and adapt, really. And we're trying to, but hopefully by keeping the upbeat vibe, we will keep on drawing the younger audience. I think the hardest thing is keeping up with how they communicate on social media, because you think you're doing it on Facebook, and then it turns out that everyone on Facebook is between 40 and 70, and that you need to try and then you need to Instagram, and then it's not Insta, it's something else. And that's the one, is chasing it, really. It's just chasing the demographic. Where are they?
I think as well, but we've got slightly alternative sort of image about us, slightly alternative vibe about us as well. So that sort of is a bit more appealing to the younger sort of rebellious type of person. So, and we're buggers. We just don't want to. We how do I say that word? We just.
That's fine. You can say it.
Oh, that's the B word. We just don't want to. We just don't want to. We don't want to grow up too much, do we? Really?
Trying not to.
We quite like the adventure of being a rock and roller.
Yeah, that must have been so nice though at that Falmouth show to see the children of your old audience and to know that they must have grown up with you and still want to see you now, not something they grew out of. That must have been just a really nice feeling.
It's happened a lot lately, and we have to get used to it. We've had people coming. My granddad brought me to see you when I was 5 years old, and these are kind of grown adults talking to you, and it is, you kind of, initially it's a bit of a, oh crikey, how old are we? And then you just think, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That these children came to see us when they were so young that it's some of their formative memories.
And a lot of the bands as well now. A lot of the bands that we're sort of are on the scene, especially our little sort of underground scene that's going on, are like, wow, yeah, we used to watch you, really inspired us and stuff, and then they head in the billing.
Yeah, with the support, but you have to accept that on the
you
journey.
have to accept it. We don't care where we play nowadays. It's that whole sort of like wanting to be the headliner is not what's driving us at all. But it's really nice that bands that are doing really well say that they've been inspired by us 20 years ago at Green Gathering or something like that.
You take some of their credit. Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I did that.
Influenced by us, they were.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Well, now the thing about you when you perform, especially when you perform live, is this whole thing of the spectacle. It's quite important. I think you touched on it a bit earlier, Athene. And I kind of wondered how you translate that spectacle into your kind of audio recordings. So like Spotify and things. How do you get that whole vibe that is Three Daft Monkeys just to be heard?
We try really hard in the studio to add. We try and record it raw initially, and then as soon as we've done that, we generally get that feeling that it needs more. So within the studio, we tend to add orchestral strings, or Tim will add multiple guitars, and Richie will add extra percussion and rhythms, and
we have a lot of ambient sound in the background as well, just to give it a little sparkle. I don't know if I should give away our trade secrets, but it's like like a lot of maybe some subliminal chit chat or people clapping and shouting and cheering. That's all sort of going on within the song as well, but not necessarily being able to hear it, but just to give it that sort of grandeur, I suppose.
But it is hard. And some people say, I'm not quite sure that you can capture a live Three Daft Monkey performance within that. We were going to record a full live performance with our 20-year anniversary show at Falmouth 2 years ago.
Right at the beginning of lockdown.
Then lockdown started, and we were going to have a brass section and string section, and we were going to record it live and release that to hopefully encapsulate that sort of feeling.
Well, what it was, we asked the fans what their favourite songs would be, and they gave us a list of songs. We sort of did a tally, and it was really nice though, because like every album was represented in that list of songs. So it just showed that every sort of, but yeah, to get it live is to get it on recording is quite tricky, isn't it?
It is.
It is quite tricky.
Yeah, we do we take a lot of care over our recordings, and me and Tim and the boys are deeply involved in every process of it, including the mix down and adding whatever we add onto the track, aren't we? We're in the studio the whole time. We don't just give it in someone else's hands. Because we feel so keenly that we want that to be represented, that intensity and that drama.
And sometimes we've made the mistake of actually playing songs slightly too quickly on the recording. I think you think, right, if it's fast, you'll give it that energy, and then and you record it, and it's really like, and then when you've done it live for a few months, you realise you've actually taken the speed down and the tempo's right down again. So sometimes I think it's best to write the songs, go out and gig them, and then record them, because record them before you gig them is quite you just, I don't know. Yeah. It changes. Once it's in front of an audience, the song changes and morphs into what it really should be. So a song on an album is really the birth of a song. And it's quite nice to have the representation of the song in its maturity after a few years of touring. So I don't know.
But then it's not new and exciting to the audience. But then
it's not new and exciting to the audience. So it's just how the business has always grown up, isn't it? Because we haven't got when we record, we go into a studio, we pay somebody. So we haven't got that privilege of sitting there writing and having months in the studio. We haven't got a backing of a record company going, have this time to create. We have to create and have it nailed before we go in.
Because it's literally, we're against the clock massively, aren't we?
And they go, right, record now.
We've got this amount of money, we've got this amount of time, bang, we've got to get everything done.
Yeah. So we've got to get a lot of it pre-planned. Apart from the last one when we did 1,000 Years, which was a really lovely track, which was just a little piano piece that you came up with, and we were like, we're in the studio, we got, we need another track, and it just sort of develops really quickly over a day, and that was really nice. But to get it live is quite tricky.
Yeah,
because it's got loads of brass and all sorts of stuff on it.
So why is the spectacle so important? Why do you like it so much?
I think it comes naturally to all of us. It's not something we try at. None of us think about what we're doing on stage. It's never talked about. We don't say in this song, let's do this, or this is the way we should be. It's just very natural for all of us to be a little quite showy in our performance, and not show offy, just to add to that intensity in a way.
It's funny as well, because the older we've got, the more flamboyant our clothing has got more flamboyant, our sort of attitude on stage got more flamboyant. I don't know why. Sort of when we started off, we were quite sort of like grungy, sort of. I was jeans and t-shirt, and but it's sort of grown as the band's grown. This sort of.
And that goes for all four of us, really. Richie's quite showy as a drummer, and Jamie's incredibly active on stage, and he has as a whole new entity since he's joined, because he's so tall as well. That takes the stage. And I think when people pay money, we kind of feel like people would like to go home feeling like they've seen a show. And I know that we could just play the music and they would still feel like that, but for us, I don't know. I think we all come from those sort of rocky backgrounds, and we love theatre as well. I mean, we're going to see Hamilton tomorrow in London, and I'm so excited. We're just we love theatre and show, and I want to just we want to have it in our lives, really, don't we?
Well, we want to create a thing where, as I said right at the beginning, we want people to leave with a smile on their faces, thinking they've been to. I mean, I know. I'm not saying that people do sit down guitar and really great music. That's a good thing as well, because that's sort of you're there for the music. But we want to create something a bit bigger than just the music.
Yeah. So in that case, seeing as obviously the live performance really endorses the whole spectacle thing, COVID must have been really hard, and the pandemic and lockdown, because you couldn't do these live performances. Did it affect you a lot?
Yeah, it was a real kick in the, and but we started doing this every Sunday. We did a cyberbus, which was live on Facebook, and it became a real community. And we did it religiously every Sunday at 3:30 throughout the whole of lockdown.
Yeah, over a year, every Sunday. The first one we thought was just a trial. We'll just give it one go, and then the response was massive, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And it was a journey. We realised that we needed people, and they needed us, and it became quite intense. It became an emotional journey together.
It was very, very intense, and so much so that we started saying, look, if people need us to just give them a ring and play them a tune on a one-to-one basis, let us know. We got so many calls, but we actually had to stop doing that, because it was really quite emotional, wasn't it? We were just in tears after every single call, because people were sort of stuck in their flats and stuff, not having seen anyone, and we'd give them a ring and say, hi, we're going to play you a tune,
and they burst into tears,
and
then I would,
yeah, and so. But it was a real symbiotic relationship, I think, between us and our fan base, and we've found that going back to live gigs afterwards, we're getting people coming up and talking to us saying it's really helped. It really helped them, because it really helped us, didn't it? I mean, it's just amazing to have something to do.
And they donated, so because financially we had no money coming in. And I'm a music teacher as well, and I had to do that online, and that didn't work for some of the children. So we had virtually no income, did we?
No.
So that our fans donated and actually kept us going in that way as well. But emotionally it's been, and the gigs since have been so emotional, because people feel like they've seen every week we did something a bit different, and we spoke so honestly during every show that they know everything about us now. Sometimes I laughed so much I cried. Sometimes we cried anyway. Sometimes we were telling them personal things about us. Our son was jumping about. They've done it in every room in the house that they've seen us, and
it was great as well, because he couldn't do the same show every week. We actually went right back through our back catalogue and started doing songs that we haven't played for 20 years, and it was great for us to go on that journey, to go back and see how we'd progressed as a band, how we'd progressed in our writing techniques, and how simple some of the first songs were, and how it's and it was a great sort of it was a great thing to do, which I don't think we would have ever have done without that sort of situation. There we'd have never have gone down those songs again and gone down that road again.
But the reality of just us two in a room with a camera, it was quite harsh sometimes. We'd reading all the comments, and the comments were very emotional and very deep, but then sometimes the perspective of it, we were on such a journey together, because our heads were going, oh, this is just how has this happened? It's just us two and a camera in our house, and wow, it's quite a journey.
Because that's the one thing I'd say, that COVID and the whole pandemic was a horrible thing, but it did really show how important musicians are, and like how the role that entertainers and stuff have in people's lives. And obviously that's how you saw it, really gave you the perspective of how emotional that connection is between you and the audience. Which it's sad, but it's quite nice to know in that sense. Yeah.
Well, some of our peers didn't really like the idea of people doing that. A lot of musicians were like, "No, music's a gig's a gig. You can't recreate a gig online. This isn't right. We shouldn't be doing this." And I know a lot of agencies didn't like it, did they? And I think because they were hoping everything would get back to normal quicker, but it didn't. They were thinking, if we don't put things online, people will, or if we do put things online, people will get used to it and they won't come out to shows again.
Which isn't true.
Which isn't true, because people watch stuff online and all they wanted to do is go to a live show. But it was the next best thing. I mean, I've had people like say to me, "Look, I had to stop watching it because I was too emotional." And one guy came to our show at the Minack in Cornwall, and he just said, "This is the first show I've been to," and he was in tears. So it was such an emotional time for everybody, wasn't it? It was such a journey.
Yeah.
And hopefully we're coming out of it now.
Hopefully. We seem to always be coming out and then just slip slightly back in again.
Yeah.
That's it now. But another thing, I'm sorry to go there, but you've mentioned before that Europe was quite important for you. Obviously you formed, because you met in Holland, did you say?
Yeah.
So Brexit is the other thing. How has that...
Brexit.
Do you remember when Brexit was the thing that everyone was on about? Oh God, those days.
Yeah, it's at the moment as an independent band, it's completely scuppered us. I know some bands are going back out, but for us, the reality of the amount of money it would cost, we'd have to get a full tour in place, like a big tour, because we'd have to pay for visas for every member of the band, and we've talked to a lot of people about how you get through customs, and you have to log in every single item, and
a lot of bands you can't sell abroad really, because then there's a tax on everything you sell. So every CD you sell, it's just a complete nightmare. So we did have some gigs booked in France, but they're not going to happen now, because we play Lorient in Brittany quite a lot, and Paimpol and all that sort of thing. In fact, one Breton promoter said he'd send over a fishing boat for us, pick us up at midnight, sneak us in. We have to pretend we were Breton fisher people.
No, it's a total nightmare, and it feels like it's taken away a huge amount of our adventure and our inspiration, because when we go away to Europe, we feel very inspired and excited, and that drives us to write, and I know we possibly can at some point in the future, but at the moment it's just not feasible or viable, and mentally and physically it would just be too much as a small independent band that doesn't earn that much money. We just can't do it.
But it could just force people under the radar. People could just still go out there and do shows and stuff, but not officially, and that's unfortunately, but that's
what's going to happen. We'll be hiding our instruments under the seats of our vans, and risking what we shouldn't have to risk. Just for the right to play music in other countries without all this bureaucracy around it. So that's the way we're going to be forced if it carries on.
Or you go down the big show route and get an agency and all the rest of it. But it's difficult. It's difficult to know how it's going to go, really.
It definitely needs a lot more work and pressure, but there's so many other things going on at the moment that people aren't focusing on that, because in their world it's not a priority. Even posting t-shirts now out to Europe, we have a lot of European fans, and the cost of postage is huge, isn't it? And even that is ridiculous.
And you've got to fill out all the forms saying whether this is a gift or if it's it's an item of sale, and if it's an item of sale then it's taxed, and it's a whole I wish I could swear, but I'm not going to.
No.
So the real thing that would benefit you is if in the future musicians were sort of given an allowance across or something. I don't know if that's ever going to happen.
Well, They have to remove the visa thing.
Well, not every country's doing it. I mean, to be honest with you, we haven't really since COVID and everything and all the borders shut anyway. We haven't really approached it as we should have. So we'll have to look into it a bit more. I'm sure there's ways around it, but it's a complete mistake that this country's gone down that route. And we've always said that it's bridges, not borders, isn't it? That's what we need as a society, as a global society. Never mind as a musician, on a larger scale, to be putting up borders. Right, we should be opening borders rather than creating them.
So let's fingers crossed we can get you guys back into Europe soon, and you'll be out there.
Yes.
So that is one goal for the future. Another thing, speaking of future, you have a new album on the way.
Yes, we're writing. It's very exciting that we're writing, isn't it?
There is one problem with being self-managed and because we've spent so much time in the last few years changing and adapting our forthcoming shows, that the writing of the music has gone a little bit astray.
Well, do you know what we did? What we did basically in COVID, we did our Sunday shows and we did the back catalogue thing, but we didn't write anything because we were spending time as a family, trying to get through it as a family.
Yeah.
Weren't we? So we didn't want to take ourselves off and spend hours writing a song. We wanted to be with our son.
Yeah, we wanted it to be a positive time for him.
Yeah.
So we put all our time and energy into making sure that our little boy didn't suffer the perils of all the lockdowns and stuff. So we gave him all our time, and we gave each other all our time, and we gave our fans time. We didn't give any time to write.
No. So now
we are now.
We're trying to discipline. Tim's got some amazing songs that he's got 4 that are sounding really fantastic. Finding inspiration has been interesting too, because I get inspiration from a feeling of freedom and liberty, and I go out walking and I find inspiration from nature and the sea and places. And during the most intense times of lockdown, I felt no sense of freedom or liberty. And so no inspiration was coming in to my world. So now I'm out there gathering, trying to get that sort of vibe back and that feeling of space in my head and my heart to allow the songs in, because that's the way the songs work for us. They sort of come to us rather than us sitting there with going, right now I will write a song. It tends to come in. So it's getting ourselves in that space, which I think we're managing to do. I went out for a big walk last week on the cliffs and had quite a few riffs that I sang into my phone, and Tim's been jamming on his guitar loads.
Well, and Arlo's now, we do home ed Arlo, so he's back at all his clubs and stuff now. So we've got a little bit more space and time to write while he's sort of doing his whatever, all the things that he does. So,
we're looking for that direction. We're looking for where we're going with this album. Obviously, we write what we feel, but we don't want it to be a negative album. We want it to be an uplifting experience for everybody, because that's what we all need right now. So we've got to find our level with it, haven't we?
Yeah, I could have written 10 negative albums last 2 years.
Could have written a lot.
I probably have actually written 10 negative albums in the last 2 years, but they're not going to see the light of day, those ones. Not until I'm old and bearded.
We're just looking for our perspective to then to the embers of the fire that will then light. But it's coming, and by the end of the year there will be a new album.
That's so exciting. And so if they keep an eye on your website, is that they'll see updates and all that?
Yeah, we're going to do a crowdfunder, basically, hopefully. We're going to write the songs. As I was saying before about writing the songs and gigging them, we're going to hopefully gig the songs this summer with a crowdfunder saying, this song's going to be on the next album. If you like it, please pre-order the album. And that's how we're going to work it this time.
Fantastic. Try a new thing and see if it
gig in the songs and then record.
Brilliant.
Yeah, we did a crowdfunder for the last album and it was hugely successful. It paid for the whole album, so we're hoping that's the way we'll have to work this time, but in just a slightly different way.
Yeah. Well, brilliant. Well, really good luck with that.
Thank you.
And unfortunately, we have run out of time, so we can't really explore anymore, which is a shame. I have loads of things that I wanted to talk about, but for now,
we'll do it again.
Next week. We've got one more song now, and so we're going to end with "World on Its Head." Can you tell us about this? But before you do, I just want to say a huge thank you for joining us today. It's been really, really nice to talk to you and really interesting. And the music has been brilliant. So yes, the last song, what is this about?
World on its head. It's again, it's a social comment really about. Well, actually, when I was songwriting, I go song fishing basically, and I went to this guy called Steve Patterson who does these in Cornwall. He does these workshops and sort of adult education things in wicker and wisecraft and folklore and all this sort of stuff. And he's got some great stuff. And he pointed out this old Cornish deity called Buckadoo, who was a pagan sort of deity. And if you invoked him into your life, he would create chaos in your life. But out of that chaos, you would grow and learn. It's a bit like the whole sort of metaphor of the phoenix, and you rise out of the fire and stuff. So it's all about this sort of creating chaos, and but out of the chaos you learn and you grow. So it's about turning your world upside down, and growing from the chaos that is created.
It was written a while ago, but it seems very apt.
Yeah, it's very apt.
La 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 la. 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 Hey. Bookaboo, who the devil are you? Got the charm and the guile and the smile of a divine fool. Are you the trickster or are you the rogue? As you wander through our lives, causing chaos wherever you go, you turn the world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head. La 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 la. 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 Hey. Pleased to meet you. I didn't catch your name. There's a storm on the wind and it's all part of your game. Excuse me, friend, but may I be so bold? There's an appetite for change and a passion yet to unfold. You turn the world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, take it away. Bookaboo, who the devil are you? Are you the trickster or the rogue or the ghost of a divine fool? Well, there you go. I guess I'll never know. I give a bow to now and get on with the show. You turn the world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin it round, upside down. You turn the world on its head, world on its head, world on its head. You turn the world on its head, spin
very much for watching. To find out more information about our future Tuesday Folk People sessions, please sign up to our mailing list or keep an eye on our social media and website. Our next session will be a week from today at 8 p.m. See you then.